morning, friends. Sorry for the delay. There was some technical issue from our side. Today we'll finish the remaining section of the last booklet. These topics that we are doing today are mostly the current affairs update of July and August of the Environment, Biodiversity and Climate Change section. As I said yesterday, after this booklet, we do not have any updates as such. We will not have any separate booklet for environment. तो अब आप इसे bind करवाना चाहते हैं, whatever you want to do, environment is done from my side. Okay, now what are the topics that we have to cover? One is we talked about some frogs which were discovered in the recent times, in the recent years, which were in news in last 1 or 2 months. There we had Adi Kola karke, Pentali. These were some frogs. Pentali was found in Western Ghats. Adi thing was found in Arunachal Pradesh. I'm hoping that you'll be able to remember those things. Now, there's one more news very recently that the world has been freed of leaded petrol. If you remember, when we were dealing with heavy metal pollution, we had also talked about lead, we had talked about mercury, we had talked about uranium. So we had said that lead is something which is mostly impacting us because of the petrol which contains lead. So petrol contains lead. जब वो petrol burn होता है, lead vapors are emitted and we end up breathing them. It causes harmful impact. But we had also said that India phased out leaded petrol, but our neighboring countries had not. Countries like Afghanistan were still using leaded petrol. So हवा से the lead would come to India also, and we were breathing it in and we were getting harmed. But now the whole world is free of leaded petrol. If you would see in 2002, what was the scenario in 2002? In 2002, so many countries were there. Africa, most of Central Asia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, everyone was using leaded petrol. Even Mexico was using it. Some South American countries were using it. By 2012, situation improved. Very few countries were left. Most of the South America was free, but still Africa, Iraq, Afghanistan, Myanmar, these were some countries which kept on using leaded petrol. हमारे neighborhood में था, we were getting harmed. But August 2021, the world is free of leaded petrol altogether. So lead pollution will still face because of the batteries, lead batteries and all those things, which would be there. But petrol में अब lead दुनिया में कहीं use नहीं हो रहा. And this was in news a few days back only. Down to earth में कुछ दिन पहले this was in news, so you must be aware of this. So this has been possible that the world is free of leaded petrol. It has been possible because of efforts of United Nations Environment Programme and Partnership for Clean Fuel and Vehicle, PCFV. Throughout the world since 1990s, they had been running this campaign, and now everyone has stopped using it. Now, as I already said that India phased out leaded petrol way back by 2000 only. So it started in 1994. By 2000, India was free. And that's why even in the 2002 map, you do not see any lead-based petrol being used in India. Now, what are the disadvantages of lead pollution? When we breathe in lead, when we inhale lead, what are the disadvantages? So those disadvantages are basically the problems which we have solved by removing the lead-based petrol. The dangers which were caused by lead included its toxic effect could lead to multi-body system issues, or it could impact your liver, it could impact your kidneys, it could impact your brain, it could impact your bone. Lead in bone is released into blood during pregnancy and becomes a source of exposure to developing fetus also. Lead can damage infant brain even at blood level. UNEP or United Nations Environment Programme has estimated that global benefit of lead free petrol would be $2.44 trillion. More than India's GDP, or around the size of India's GDP. इतना global benefit होगा because of doing away with lead. There was one more thing. Various studies had shown that lead-based petrol was also damaging the emission control system of vehicles. That was also harmful for the vehicles. And thus, lead-free world or lead-free petrol world is beneficial, is crucial, and now we have achieved it. So please, जब हमने when we studied air pollution and heavy metal pollution, I had said that our neighboring countries are still using it. Now it's an update. Now they are not using it. If an exam it get asked, they are not using lead based petrol. ओके ये अभी अपडेट आया है तो मैं अभी करा रहा हूं. डू नॉट कम टू मी टुमारो कि सर आपने गलत पढ़ा दिया. प्लीज, दिस हैज हैपेंड नाउ. ओके, नाउ सुजलम कैंपेन. अभी इन अगस्त सुजलम कैंपेन वाज लॉन्च्ड बाय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ जल शक्ति. सुजलम. नाउ what is this campaign? This is a 100-day campaign which is focused on making more and more village ODF plus. ODF is open defecation free. So under ODF, open defecation free villages, you create more and more toilets in every household so that people will not go and defecate in open. But ODF plus villages, they're not only focused on no open defecation but water harvesting, wastewater treatment. Those are some other areas which are being focused upon in ODF plus villages. The Sujalam campaign is a campaign by Ministry of Jal Shakti which is focused on ensuring that more number of villages in the country become ODF plus. इतना अच्छे से समझ में आना चाहिए. Sujalam, you should know, Ministry of Jal Shakti, more number of villages, making more number of villages ODF plus. This is the core thing. Now, there are some more details. You would see under this, the target is that around 1 million soak pits would be created and grey water management activities would also be conducted. Soak pits are the places where the water is absorbed. Dirty water is also absorbed so that cleaning process would take place. And grey water management, grey water is dirty water. So, uski management activities would also be promoted. In fact, under Sujalam campaign, you can see these are the broad areas that we are talking about. Construction of 1 million soak pits, retrofitting of toilets which are using older technologies, uska retrofitting, and access to toilets for new households. There are toilets in every household, but there are new households being created. There are new homes being created, being constructed. They should also have toilets. That would be the focus area. So this campaign was started on 25th August. 100 days के लिए चलेगा. So even when you will be writing preliminary examination, this campaign would be going on. And this is like 45 days before your preliminary examination. This is the time your question paper is being set. Around a month before पूरा हो जाता है, setting हो जाती है. So 25th August it was in PIB on 25th August. So around 45 days before your examination date. So good chances that कोई पेपर बना रहा होगा तो चलो कुछ मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ जल शक्ति का डालते हैं. सुजलम कैंपेन इज एसोसिएटेड विद विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग. अब कहीं एग्जाम में आ जाए और फिर मुझे पकड़ के मारे लोग कि आपने पेपर लीक किया. आपको आई एम जस्ट गेसिंग इट. ऐसा नहीं है कि एग्जाम में आएगा ही, बट सुजलम कैंपेन यू शुड बी क्लियर अबाउट. तो this campaign is focusing on building infrastructure such as soak pit and all. This campaign would be focused on aiding in sustainable management of water bodies. इसके अंदर there will also be boost given to स्वच्छ भारत मिशन ग्रामीण का phase 2. Now, all these things are already being done under different initiatives. स्वच्छ भारत मिशन के अंदर toilets are being created and all. So what exactly would happen under Sujalam campaign, 100-day campaign? This is more or less an awareness generation campaign through which villages में soak pits would be created, toilets would be created, wastewater treatment facilities would be happening, and under this there would be community consultation. खुली बैठक is open meetings. खुली बैठक, gram sabha meeting will be taking place to analyze the current situation. In these meetings, resolutions to maintain ODF sustainability would be passed. 100 days plan to undertake sustainability and soak pit construction related activities would be done. Construction of requisite number of soak pits would happen. Retrofitting of toilets would happen. Newly emerging households in the villages will have access to toilets. These are some broad areas that would be looked upon. Okay, Sujalam campaign is understood. Pakka? Now let's go to plastic waste management rules 2021. These are basically amendment rules. हमारा plastic waste management rule 2016 we had studied. We have studied plastic waste management rule 2016. What is the maximum thickness of plastic bag, minimum thickness of plastic bag which is allowed as per the plastic waste management rule 2016? जिसने नहीं बताया मैं क्लास बंद करके जा रहा हूं अगर कोई नहीं बता रहा है तो. एक समरी नहीं मेरी समझदार बच्ची है 15 माइक्रोन्स. 2016 plastic waste management rules had increased the minimum thickness of plastic bags from 40 micrometers. पहले before 2016 up to 40 micrometers of plastic thickness was required minimum. It was increased to 50 micrometers and had also said what are the advantages of increased thickness? Cost would increase. Because cost would increase, less plastic bags would be used. Recyclability would, like waste pickers would pick it more because it would be costly. There would be less chances of animals consuming it. बहुत thin plastic होगा तो animals end up consuming it. Thicker plastic would also not flow that easily in the air. Wind will not make it go away to different places and thus increase the plastic pollution. Those are the advantages also that we had discussed, right? 2016 plastic waste management rule. Those rules have been slightly changed. अभी August में. Again, please do not beat me up कि सर आपने वो पढ़ाया हमें plastic waste management rule. जब मैंने पढ़ाया था तो वो ही rules थे. Those rules have slightly been changed now. So before we go to what changes have taken place, please note that in 2019 in United Nations Environment Assembly, India had piloted an initiative. Piloted initiative, मतलब India had led an initiative where the focus was on doing away with single-use plastics. हमने single-use plastics पढ़े हैं. Single-use plastics are those plastic things that you use only once. For example, straw that you use, disposable plates that you use, जो thermocol के type के बने होते हैं. Plastic spoons, the packets in which you get your food. जब आप थालासरी से फिश और चिकन राइस मंगा रहे होते हैं तो they send it to you in a plastic bag or plastic box along with spoon. इसे सब पता है ना कि मंगा के खाती रहती है. तो those are single use plastic, right? Those are single use plastics. So those plastics are some things which are creating a lot of pollution. And in this United Nations Environment Assembly, we had piloted a resolution on addressing single-use plastic, and this resolution was also passed. This was a important achievement for us. But India अभी तक single-use plastic को ban नहीं कर पाया था. But now we have done certain things. For example, plastic waste management rules 2021 जो amendment कर रहे हैं 2021 में, उसमें we are increasing the minimum thickness of plastic bags to 70 microns from 30th September and to 120 microns from 31st December 2022. So minimum thickness which was 50 micrometers. एक तो ये 50 microns नहीं पता था आप लोगों को, बहुत गलत बात है. नहीं, आपने नहीं बताया. अच्छा, बोला नहीं पता था. अरे फ्रॉड, मैं नहीं मानता. ऐसे दस्तूर को मैं नहीं जानता, मैं नहीं मानता. जो बता ही नहीं पा रहे हो तो फिर क्या एग्जाम में आएगा वहां पे 50 माइक्रोमीटर ऐसे आना चाहिए था. तो नाउ दैट मिनिमम थिकनेस वुड बी इंक्रीज टू 70 micrometers from 30th September 2021. So before your preliminary examination, the minimum thickness would increase to 70, and by the time you are in training at Labasna, that is by 31st December 2022, the minimum thickness would be 120 micrometers, 120 microns. This is a major change that has happened recently. 70 and 120 भूलना नहीं है. इतना पढ़ा दिया है, सब भूल जाते हो. गलत बात है. मुझे बताओ कि सारे क्रिटिकली एंडेंजर्ड बर्ड्स इंडिया के कौन बताएगा? एक तो ये बच्चे जो ऑनलाइन बैठे हैं इनका तो मुझे भरोसा नहीं है, ये बुक खोल के बताने लग जाएंगे, दिखते तो है नहीं। चलिए अभी नहीं पूछते हैं। डिड यू ये याद रह जाएगा सबको, अच्छे से भूलना नहीं है। देन एडवांटेजेस ऑफ इंक्रीज थिकनेस तो मैंने आपको बता दिया है कि इट विल बी एक्सपेंसिव, तो लेस यूज वुड बी देयर, मोर रिसाइकलिंग वुड बी देयर, लेस चांसेस ऑफ एनिमल ईटिंग इट, लेस चांसेस ऑफ इट मूविंग अराउंड एंड क्रिएटिंग पोल्यूशन. Then there are some single-use plastics that we are banning. Some single-use plastics that we are banning altogether, not right now, but from 1st of July 2022. From 1st of July 2022. आपका रिजल्ट आ चुका होगा, आप सेलेक्ट हो चुके होगे, जब पार्टी कर रहे होगे, you will not be able to use single-use plastics. कौन कौन से? Earbuds with plastic sticks, जो कान खुजाने के लिए earbuds यूज होते हैं, उसमें plastic sticks are used along with the cotton. No, that won't be allowed. Plastic sticks for balloons, plastic flags. इंडिया का फ्लैग प्लास्टिक वाला मिल जाता है आपको, वो नहीं मिलेगा. कैंडी स्टिक्स, वो लॉलीपॉप you use and there a plastic, the candy sticks, ice cream sticks, polystyrene thermocol for decoration, or plates, cups, glasses, plastic glasses, cutlery such as forks, spoons, knives, straw, trays, wrapping or packing films around sweet boxes, invitation cards, cigarette packets, plastic or PVC banners less than 100 microns, stirrers. All these things are going to be banned from 1st of July 2022. Okay, मैंने पूछा क्रिटिकली इंडेंजर्ड बर्ड्स बताओ, तो लोकेश ने लिख दिया ग्रेट इंडियन बस्टर्ड. ठीक है, वो है एक, बट हमने 15-16 बर्ड्स पढ़े हैं भाई. ओके, डिड यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आर द टू मेन चेंजेस व्हिच आर बीइंग डन? थिकनेस, तो देखो एक क्वेश्चन आएगा, ऑल सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक्स हैव बीन बैंड. Wrong. All single use plastic carry bags that we use are also single use. जिसमें आप चीनी लेके आते हो half an kg, you do not use it again. But their minimum thickness has been increased. But these single-use plastics have been banned. Then packaging waste. See, the banned things are not packaging thing mostly. Plastic flags, straw, they are not. The packaging may we still use a lot of plastic, right? But packaging plastics are still not banned. They're still not covered in the phase out section, but the government says that under extended producer responsibility as provided under the Plastic Waste Management Rule 2016, there would be efforts taken to reduce this kind of plastic also. So for effective implementation of extended producer responsibility, guidelines for EPR are being brought out. Guidelines for EPR being brought out have been given legal force through the Plastic Waste Management Rule 2021. तो भी recently last year or so एक guideline आई थी for plastic extended producer responsibility, उसको भी इस provision में डाल के Plastic Waste Management Rule 2016 में डाल के through 2021 amendment legal backing has been provided. Fine. What changes have happened that I hope all of you have understood. Now, there are some other steps which are being taken to fight plastic waste pollution. एक तो amendment rules हैं, Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules 2021. So you have to know 2016 rules. उसका amendment है. So even now a question would come, Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016 have increased the minimum thickness of plastic bags from 30th September 2022 to 70 micrometers. Would it be true? Yes. 2021 is an amendment to 2016. तो अब 2016 वैसा हो गया है. 2016 rules are now amended. The Citizenship Amendment Act 1955. उसमें आप चेंजेस कर रहे हो तो which act? Now Citizenship Amendment Act, Citizenship Act 1955 is there. उसमें Citizenship Amendment Act made some changes. So now those changes are part of what? Citizenship Act 1955 only, no? In the same way. Now, some other steps which are being taken that we should know of for fighting plastic waste pollution. तो एक है under Swachh Bharat Mission, waste management infrastructure is being improved all over the country, is being strengthened all over the country, then there are some other steps. For example, states have been requested that all of them should create a special task force for elimination of single-use plastic and for effective management of plastic waste management rules 2016. In the same way, a national level task force has also been constituted by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change for taking coordinated efforts to eliminate identified single-use plastic items and for effective implementation of Plastic Waste Management Rule 2016. So we have special task force. States have been requested कि आप special task force बनाओ, and then at national level we have a national level task force for doing the same thing. Then states and UT governments have also been asked to develop a comprehensive action plan to eliminate single use plastic altogether. एक awareness generation initiative भी है. A 2-month long awareness generation campaign of single use plastic 2021 was organized, and then ministry has also organized a pan India essay writing competition on the theme of spreading awareness related to among school students related to plastic pollution. Finally, एक India Plastic Challenge initiative is there. Under this, innovation or alternatives to plastics was being promoted through this challenge. So basically, what was happening? People were asked to develop new projects, initiatives, जिससे वो plastic waste related problems से deal कर पाए. Okay, these are all the things that are being done other than the initiatives that we have already talked about. Microplastic, single-use plastic, EU banning it, all those things we have already talked about. These are some more changes which are here. Okay, understood? Now, any doubts here? No. एक और चीज जो न्यूज में थी अभी अगस्त 2021 को, वो था दीपोर बील, द लेक. तो इट्स अ लेक इन Assam. It's also a wildlife sanctuary. It's also a Ramsar site. Assam ka the only Ramsar site of Assam is Dipor Bill Lake. Okay, recently it was in news because iske around eco-sensitive zones have been announced. We have studied eco-sensitive zone. We have said कि Supreme Court through a judgment had said कि announce करो नहीं तो 10 kilometer around, we'll assume कि 10 kilometers around it are would be eco-sensitive zones and restrictions would be imposed on those eco-sensitive zones. Here, recently, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change have notified an area to an extent varying from 294 meters to 16.32 kilometers. मतलब दीपोर बिल के कुछ पार्ट में up to 294 meters तक the zone would be considered eco-sensitive zone because this is located very near to Guwahati. तो ऐसा होगा ना कहीं पास में रेसिडेंशियल एरिया बहुत सारी चीजें होंगी तो lot of eco-sensitive zone may not be created. But on the other side, it's jungle, so more eco-sensitive zone could be created. So eco-sensitive zones here is varying from 294 meters to 16.3 kilometers. Okay, now you must also know one thing that this Dipor Bill is located on a former channel of Brahmaputra river. Brahmaputra वहां से पास होता था. Now shifting की वजह से it has shifted somewhere else, but this lake has remained. In summers, the wetland expands up to 30 square kilometers. Otherwise, in winters, its size is up to 10 square kilometers. So it's basically telling you कि size भी इसका बहुत vary करता है, 10 square kilometer to 30 square kilometer based on how much water is there. So Dipor Bill has been in news recently. Wildlife sanctuary, Dipor Bill Wildlife Sanctuary कहाँ है? Dipor रामसर साइट कहाँ है? तो गुवाहाटी के पास में है, असम में है, फॉर्मर ब्रह्मपुत्रा के चैनल पे है और रिसेंटली इको सेंसिटिव जोन ऑन दिस हैज बीन अनाउंस्ड बाय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट फॉरेस्ट एंड क्लाइमेट चेंज. फाइन. नाउ A74, ऐसे एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन आता है. A74 वाज इन न्यूज़ रिसेंटली. व्हाट इज इट? कल टेस्ट सीरीज में था. कौन सा टेस्ट सीरीज कर रहे हो? अच्छा, A74 iceberg it grazed through Brunt ice shelf. Look at this. This is the Brunt ice shelf of Western Antarctica. अंटार्कटिका का इमेज हमने देखा है पहले, while talking about various expeditions and all, we have talked about Antarctica. नहीं, ओजोन में तो अंटार्कटिका ऊपर नीचे की बात कर रहे हैं, ये नीचे है, दिस इज द, तो इट इज वेस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ अंटार्कटिका। वेडल सी वगैरह के बारे में हमने पढ़ा है, वी हैव इंटरनेशनल बॉडीज में भी पढ़ा है, वी हैव लुक्ड एट अंटार्कटिका का पूरा मैप। ओके, उसका जो वेस्टर्न पार्ट है ना, उसमें वी हैव दिस आइस शेल्फ, ब्रंट आइस शेल्फ। नाउ व्हाट आर आइस शेल्फ, डू यू नो? आइस शेल्फ क्या होते हैं? वुड समवन टेल मी व्हाट एन आइस शेल्फ इज? So what is the difference between iceberg and ice shelf? It is from... नहीं पता तो बकचोदी नहीं। देखो, generally what happens, let's say this is a big island जहां which is having a lot of ice on it. So and there is water all around it. So ice shelf would basically be ice which is touching or which is in connect with this land. It's connected to it, but it's also in water. तो उस पे वाटर का बियोंसी फोर्स भी लग रहा है। It is ice shelf. So if this breaks, it will not increase the water level. Why would it not increase the water level? क्योंकि it's already floating in water. Though it is connected to the land, but it's already floating in water. So when it breaks, it becomes a iceberg. When it's freely floating in water, it becomes a iceberg. Okay, तो टाइटैनिक से जो कोलाइड किया वो आइसबर्ग है। Now, this is ice shelf. It is connected to rest of the land area. And this is an iceberg which is floating freely. Understood the difference? Now, this iceberg A74 had got separated from this ice shelf only. But for long, it stayed around this ice shelf. And finally, it is now grazed through it and got away. Scientists were worried कि अगर बड़ा collision होगा तो A74 ये जो iceberg है उससे भी बड़ा एक iceberg it will break. So this collision not happening was a big news. बच गए. Relief. So A74 or Brunt ice shelf or it was in the Weddell Sea. So geography questions related to this may be asked in the examination. You should know about this. Fine. A74 क्या था? एक iceberg था. Brunt ice shelf था. They are on the western part of Antarctica. They are on the western part of Antarctica. Weddell Sea के पास है. These things should be known to you, should be understood to you. Okay? I hope चीजें समझ में आ रही हैं. Now, Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework. This is a bit old news, but I had not covered it, तो मैं cover कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे. It's of September 2020. एक Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Please note it carefully. It's not Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change because it's focused on smart cities. So Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework. Look at the name carefully. Whenever you do not know about a topic, read the name carefully. Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework. Our cities, how far they're becoming climate smart? Climate smart होना मतलब कल floods आ सकते हैं because of rising sea level. Are you protected against that flood? कल drought हो सकता है, water shortage हो सकती है. Are you protected against that water shortage? Are you protecting? Is the city planning good enough that it would ensure that even in a period of drought, the residents would be able to get water? All these things would make our cities climate smart. Will make the cities climate smart. So Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework. Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs have launched the Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework 2.0 and Streets for People Challenge. Streets for People, you go to ORN roads, there are supposed to be, besides road, there is supposed to be a street where people are supposed to walk. But they have been given to fruit vendors or other kinds of vendors. Now you may be blaming fruit vendors कि उन्होंने occupy कर लिया जगह, but you'll be surprised to know that those people are paying money, either in the form of bribe to police and municipality. Other than this also, they have, like what people do is, when I speak to some fruit vendors, they say that they have given some money to contractor also. That contractor collects the money and gives to municipality and all those things happen. तो गवर्नमेंट प्रॉपर्टी का जिसके पास भी पावर है वो पैसा अर्न करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, एंड उससे who are the people who are suffering? Common citizens suffer. The fruit vendors sell their fruits at very expensive prices and we do not find space to walk. ओआरएन में आप वॉक कर रहे हो, आपको रोड पे वॉक करना पड़ रहा है. ओल्ड राजेंद्र नगर में you have to walk on the road because the streets have been occupied. Right? So this initiative, Streets for People initiative, was focused on improving that situation. So let us understand both these things थोड़ा. Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework, इसका नाम ही आपको बता रहा है. It's a framework through which Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change would be helping cities all over the country to become climate smart, to take steps to ensure that climate change would not affect them adversely. That is, make those cities climate sensitive, inculcate climate sensitive approach in the urban planning, in the development in the cities which are taking place. Now, in this assessment, there are 28 indicators across 5 categories. So these are the 5 categories which are being covered in the assessment. Here, energy and green building. See, because of a lot of fuel being used, greenhouse emission is taking place, climate change is taking place. So are the cities that we are creating, are the new buildings that we are creating using clean sources of energy or using less energy, and thus are the green building or not? Urban planning, green cover and biodiversity, mobility and air quality, water management, waste management, all these areas, these things are divided into 28 indicators. On that basis, assessment is being done. Then there is Streets for People Challenge. Here, the idea was support cities across the country to develop a unified vision of streets for people in consultation with stakeholders. तो यहाँ पे क्या किया गया था? Cities are being guided to launch their own design competitions. Through these competitions, new ideas would come, and if those ideas are good, then test, learn, scale approach से उसे implement करना है. Test that idea, learn from that, and then scale that idea. How we can ensure that more and more people are able to use streets, are able to walk on it. One more reason because of which this initiative was there was because of COVID-19, a lot of people would want to walk separately. But when they are traveling in public transport, that risk would be there. So if there is street to move around, 1 किलोमीटर चलने का, 1 किलोमीटर जाने का, आने के लिए streets रहेंगे, तो it would be safer also. Fine. So both the initiatives are of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. You must know this. Now, River Interlinking Project. River Interlinking Project actually is not something that was बहुत सारा news में recently, but still, because it's such a huge thing, you must know about it, and that's why I'm covering it here. River Interlinking Project. So what is this River Interlinking Project? It's a huge project where the idea is that there are some rivers in the country which overflow, which cause floods. But then there are some rivers in the country which have shortage of water. और उनके बीच में there's a lot of water scarcity areas and all. So why not connect this overflowing river with the shortage of water river, and बीच में भी water supply improve हो जाए. For example, in Deccan, there are rivers which have water shortage. So river interlinking project is focused on this mission. The idea is like what would be the advantages of river interlinking project या positives which are being claimed कि river interlinking project से ये सारे फायदे होंगे. उसमें ये है कि one, it will benefit around 35 million hectare of land by providing irrigation to them. वो canals बनेंगे for water transportation and all. That is one huge advantage. Then around through this interlinking, various dams and hydropower plants would also be created. So 34 gigawatts or 34,000 megawatts of hydropower would also be generated. And then there are a number of associated advantages. For example, flood control. जिस रिवर में ज्यादा पानी था वो फ्लड कॉज कर रहा था ना. Which is that river in Bihar which causes flood every year? नेपाल से जो आता है, कोसी river. It creates a lot of flood. Why not divert its water? Then navigation, inland waterways, more inland waterways could be created. Water supply, places where water scarcity is there. Fisheries, controlling salinity, controlling pollution. A lot of things can happen by this interlinking. So river interlinking is something that's not a new idea. It has been going on for some times, and thus a plan has also been created. So the Interlink project that is being implemented, it has three components now. Northern Himalayan components. This is the part that you see where around 14 North Indian rivers are being connected. You'll see Kosi Mechi, Kosi Ghagra, Ghaggar. You can see Kosi was one of the rivers which was causing problems. Why not divert water from there? Then Gandak, Ganga, Ghaggar, Yamuna, Sarda, Yamuna, Yamuna, Rajasthan, Sarda, Yamuna, Yamuna, Rajasthan, Rajasthan, Sabarmati. You can see Rajasthan, Sabarmati से इधर connect हो रहा है. Then Chunar, Son Barrage, Son Dam, southern tributaries of Ganga, Manas, Sankosh, Tista, Ganga. यहाँ पे Manas, Sankosh, Tista, Ganga. जोगी होपा, तीस्ता, फरक्का, फरक्का, सुंदरबन, गंगा, दामोदर, सुवर्णरेखा, महानदी. So these are the 14 North Indian river projects which are planned as the first component here. Then there is Southern Peninsular component also. There are 16 connections of Southern Peninsular components which are given in this figure. Rivers which are planned to be connected. And then there is intra-state river linking component also. ये जनरली ये जो अभी हमने पढ़े थे वो इंटर-स्टेट रिवर लिंकिंग कंपोनेंट थे. There are some intra-state river linking component also. तो अंडर नेशनल पर्सपेक्टिव प्लान पहले जो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ वाटर रिसोर्सेज था which is now मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ जल शक्ति, it had along with National Water Development Authority identified 14 links under Himalayan river component and 16 links under Peninsular river component. Other than this, 47 intra-state river link proposals from 9 states have also come up. तो इनके इंटरलिंकिंग की बात चल रही है, उसके कुछ एडवांटेजेस होंगे, वो हमने समझा है. We'll analyze these topics more की could there be limitations, could there be problems. अभी for preliminary examination that is not needed, so we're not doing it here. Now, there's one more thing that you should know. Who is the managing authority? It is National Water Development. But there's a body which government is planning to create, NIRA, National Interlinking of River Authority. The name should have been National River Interlinking Authority. But वो NIRA दिखने के लिए ना, National Interlinking of River Authority. It has not been created. Government is planning. Government is working on establishment of an exclusive body to implement these projects. Okay, so it is still not something that has been created. Last year ये बोला था गवर्नमेंट ने कि वो बॉडी बनेगी, अभी तक बनी नहीं. COVID-19 and all issues have been. Vintage और classic vehicles. Recently vintage और classic vehicles से related भी एक policy आई है. Okay, first of all, what are classic vehicles? So there are different definitions of classic vehicles, बस समझो कि वो जो पुरानी vehicles हैं जो देख के लगता है हाँ यार, those are classic vehicles. तो तो इंडिया जो नए रूल्स लेके आया है, अकॉर्डिंग टू दोज रूल्स, so here you will see in July 2021, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways have formalized the registration process of vintage motor vehicles. India has formalized the registration procedure of vintage motor vehicles. So what are vintage motor vehicles? As per these norms, any two-wheeler or four-wheeler which is more than 50 years of age is vintage vehicle. Okay, which is more than of 50 years of age will be considered vintage vehicle. But ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि suppose let's say you have a vehicle from 1960s. I do not know which were the brands which were there in 1960s. किसी को पता है क्या? मतलब वो राजेश खन्ना कौन से गाड़ी में मेरे सपनों की रानी गाता था? नो, किसी को पता है? किसी को नहीं पता। मेरे सपनों की रानी, वो वाला गाना कौन से उसमें गाया है? लोकेश कुछ बता रहा है क्या? लोकेश कुछ बता रहे हो? शेवरले इम्पाला, भाई बड़ी गाड़ी है, तो मतलब आई एम हियरिंग इट फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम. ओके, थैंक यू लोकेश. So that car, if is kept somewhere today, that will be classic or vintage car as per this definition. But what if हमने उसके अंदर से सब कुछ हटा के उसके अंदर लेटेस्ट Hyundai का कोई इंजन डाल दिया है, will that be considered vintage? No. Just outer covering is not vintage. The whole car should be vintage. So any two-wheeler or four-wheeler which are 50 plus years old and are maintained in the original form and which have not undergone substantial overhaul will be considered vintage. But again, as I said, this definition may vary from country to country. For example, in United Kingdom, any car which is more than 40 years of age is vintage. In the US, rules may vary from state to state, but in general, the Antique Automobile Club of America says that any car which is more than 25 years of age and which was built in factories, वैसा नहीं मैंने अपने घर पे कुछ assemble करके बनाया था वो, which was built in factories and specifically designed and manufactured for transportation use on public roadways and highways are eligible to be called classic. They do not use the term vintage, they use the term classic. So what are vintage vehicles or what are classic vehicles? That you understand. What is the definition that has been provided for in India, that you understand. Now, what are the key provisions of the new registration rules, regulations that we have come up with? First of all, it says that you can certify that your vehicle is vintage by self-certification. That is, you can show कि देखो ये इतने साल पुराना vehicle है and thus is a vintage vehicle. Now, second thing that this says, vintage vehicle should not be used for regular purpose. Like मैं आज राजेश खन्ना वाली गाड़ी लेके ऑफिस से घर आ रहा हूँ गाते हुए मेरे सब, मतलब वो लड़की ट्रेन पे इतनी दूर है और यहाँ पे गाना गा रहा है, उसे सुनाई दे रहा है, वो भी उस टाइम की ट्रेन है, उस टाइम की ट्रेन जिसमें इतना शोर होता था, अभी भी शोर होता है, तो मैं तो गाना भी नहीं गा पाऊंगा, और वो पहाड़ियों टाइप जगहों से चल रहा है. Anyways, so if I get that car today, and am I allowed to drive it from my room to office to room? Regular use is not allowed. Vintage vehicle, if you have vintage vehicle, okay, but should not be used for regular purpose like daily commute. It should not also be used for commercial purpose. Commercial purpose मतलब किसी टीवी शो में दे रहा हूँ और वो रेंट पे दे रहा हूँ. No, it should not be used for that. It can only be used for private purpose. Time to time use है. For example, vintage vehicle rallies हो रही हैं. We can use that. Special events हैं. 1-2 महीने में एक बार आप अपने बच्चों के साथ चलो आज हम राजेश खन्ना वाली कार में ट्रेवल करेंगे. Is राजेश खन्ना alive? निकल लिए? Oh, he's not alive. Okay. So where would it be used, that you understand? Regular use नहीं होगा, exceptional use है. Now, these vehicles will not need certificate of fitness or PUC certificate. Why? Understand that PUC certificate may need substantial changes to happen in it, and vintage vehicle you want to preserve it as heritage, kind of. No, you do not want to make those changes. Then New registration is not required if the vehicle is already registered. If the vehicle has a number, it is already registered with RTO, the new registration will not be required. It can continue with the old registration, and they are also exempt from provision to install any new high security number plate. The old system can continue. Then Form 20 will be used for registering or re-registering. मतलब vehicles को 15 साल बाद register करना पड़ता है, कुछ ऐसे rules होते हैं. It may vary from state to state, but for registering or for re-registering, Form 20 would be used for vintage vehicle. Re-registering जब हो रही होगी, the vehicle will require a valid insurance policy, that imported vehicle entry bill, and in case already registered vehicle, the old RC copy, old registration copy would be needed. अगर vehicle past में कभी भी registered नहीं था, and registration is happening for the first time, then a separate numbering scheme has been designed for them. XXVAYY8, where XX stands for state code, YY will be 2-letter series, VA will indicate that it's a vintage, and this 8 would basically be a code from 0001 to 999. This registration certificate will be valid for 10 years और 10 साल के बाद दोबारा से re-register करना पड़ेगा. Sale and purchase of vintage vehicle is permissible, yes. तभी मुझे वो राजेश खन्ना वाली vehicle मिल पाएगी ना, वो वाला चीज. Then vintage vehicle will not come under new scrappage policy. Government has recently announced a scrappage policy where old vehicle will be scrapped because they are polluting and उनका मटेरियल वापस से रीयूज हो सकता है बाकी चीजों के लिए, तो वाई ओल्ड व्हीकल आप रखे हुए, तो विंटेज व्हीकल्स विल नॉट कम अंडर स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी. ओके, तो उसे स्क्रैप करने की ऐसे कोई जरूरत नहीं है. तो विंटेज व्हीकल इज अंडरस्टूड. प्रत्युष श्रीवास्तव इज राइटिंग फिएट. फिएट का क्या करूं भाई, चाहिए तुम्हें? मैं भिजवा देता हूं. नेशनल, तो विंटेज व्हीकल इज अंडरस्टूड. नाउ कम टू नेशनल व्हीकल स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी. सबको विंटेज व्हीकल वाला फंडा समझ में आ गया ना? तो विंटेज व्हीकल आई शुड हैव परहैप्स कवर्ड अंडर कल्चर, नॉट पोल्यूशन एज सच, बट क्योंकि वो स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी से एसोसिएटेड था, स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी इज समथिंग दैट आई हैव टू कवर इन द पोल्यूशन सेक्शन. लेट्स कवर इट. नेशनल व्हीकल स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी. In August 2021, Prime Minister Modi announced or launched India's new vehicle scrappage policy. This policy was first unveiled by Minister of Road Transport and Highways in Parliament in March 2021. So vehicle scrappage policy, as I was saying, that as vehicle gets sold, like you may have a vehicle which is of 1990s, early 90s में शायद Maruti 800 was very famous, or there was this car, Maruti 800 or Contessa. These were some. The Contessa was used to be a luxury car. It's ambassador. Okay. So these were the cars which were quite famous. But if those cars are used today, they'll be highly polluting, right? So we do not want those cars to be used on roads. We want that वो car scrap हो जाए ना. Recently there was a movie, कौन सी movie थी जिसमें अजय देवगन falls in love with a 50-year-old, Ajay Devgan falls in love with 25-year-old girl. दे दे प्यार, सब पता है. अभी इसे क्रिटिकली इंडेंजर्ड बर्ड्स नहीं पता था. मूवी का नाम पता है, दे दे प्यार दे. हाँ, तो दे दे प्यार दे. उसमें अजय देवगन मीट्स उसकी वाइफ से मिलता है, तो उनकी फर्स्ट कार होती है जो रास्ते में खराब हो जाती है. बट दे वर वेरी प्राउड ऑफ दैट कार. दैट कार हैज बीन देयर विद देम फॉर मोर देन 25 years and so, बट एज पर द न्यू स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी उसे सपोर्ट ज्यादा नहीं किया जाएगा. देयर आर चांसेस कि अगर उसका कंडीशन सही है, if it's passing fitness test, it would be allowed. Otherwise it would not be allowed because it may be highly polluting. We are moving to BS6. वहां पे BS1 2000 में शुरू हुआ था, 99 में, उससे भी पहले की कार है, right? So what is the scrappage policy saying? It's saying that commercial vehicles which are 15 years of age and personal vehicles which are of 20 years of age and they fail an automated fitness test. दो कंडीशंस देखो. एक पर्सनल व्हीकल वो अजय देवगन तब्बू वाली व्हीकल which is more than 20 years of age, or commercial vehicle, a truck, a bus, or some other commercial vehicle which is 15 years of age. And ये तो एज एक क्राइटेरिया, बट इट शुड ऑल्सो फेल an automated fitness test. If both these happens, they fail fitness test and they are this old, then they would be deregistered. स्क्रैप कर दिया जाएगा ये नहीं बोला है, स्क्रैपिंग मुझे करवानी है अपनी व्हीकल की, दैट्स इफ आई वांट टू कीप माय व्हीकल इन माय यार्ड फॉर फ्यूचर, just for as showcase. I cannot run it on road. I cannot run it on road, but otherwise. तो ऐसे ये स्क्रैपिंग की बात कर रहे हैं. Owner can choose to scrap them, but cannot use them on road. This is valid for both diesel and petrol vehicles. So this policy will help in phasing out or removing from roads old polluting. समझ में आ रही है बात अच्छे से? If old personal vehicle passes fitness test, if it has passed fitness, you have a 1990s का कोई कार, let's say you have Maruti 800. तो किसके पास Maruti 800 थी? अब तो रिच लोग हो, मतलब जिसके पास Maruti 800 थी, they were rich people, because that was the time when Indians did not have a lot of cars. So if you have that, you have that right now also? नहीं, even you don't have it. बेच के आइसक्रीम खा गए, कट गई, क्या किया? ओके कटवा दी, बेचा यार, मतलब पैस्टोरल सोसाइटी, दूध देना बंद कर दिया जानवर ने तो खा रहा होगा, है ना? हाँ, तो if old personal vehicle passes the fitness test, suppose you had your car of 1990s and it passed the fitness test, Maruti थी, चल दी. In that case, what happens? You're allowed to use it, but your registration fees would be steeper. It will be 15 to 20 times higher. You want to use the old car, but ज़्यादा registration fee pay करो, क्योंकि polluting तो वो होगा, even if it has passed fitness test. So how many vehicles are under the ambit scrappage policy में? So currently there are around 15 lakh light motor vehicles, personal vehicles in India, and which are more than 20 years of age, and 34 lakh vehicles which are more than 15 years of age. And वो दोनों, there are 17 lakh medium to heavy commercial vehicles which are older than 15 years of age without valid fitness certificate. So these are vehicles which may go for scrappage. तो डज इट मीन कि कल से आपको अपनी गाड़ियां निकाल के स्क्रैप करवानी है? नहीं, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आपको स्क्रैपिंग इज नॉट कंपलसरी, यू वुड बी डी रजिस्टर्ड, बट पहले ऑटोमेटेड फिटनेस टेस्ट तो हो. तो राइट नाउ वी डू नॉट हैव इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स, तो इट इज टू बी इंप्लीमेंटेड इन कमिंग टाइम्स. तो ऑटोमेटेड फिटनेस टेस्ट सेंटर्स वुड बी क्रिएटेड, स्क्रैपेज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर वुड बी क्रिएटेड. स्क्रैपिंग कहाँ होगी? मतलब जैसे इसने कटवा दिया वैसे कटवा तो नहीं सकते ना आप जाके. They will have to go to a scrapping center where the scrapping would take place. Lokesh is saying Maruti 1000. So Maruti 1000 भी कुछ होता था क्या? Maruti 1000 क्या है पता नहीं है, लोकेश मुझे नहीं पता. Coming back to this, so does implementation happen right away? नहीं, अभी we'll have to create infrastructure first. We'll have to create infrastructure में ऑटोमेटेड टेस्टिंग का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, स्क्रैपेज वाला इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. विल हैव टू इनवाइट प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स कि भाई स्क्रैपेज इन्वेस्टमेंट कर दो, उससे वो प्रॉफिटेबल बिजनेस है. दोस थिंग्स हैव टू हैपन. तो इट विल बी मैंडेटरी टेस्टिंग ऑफ हेवी कमर्शियल व्हीकल विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम अप्रैल 2023. ऑटोमेटेड टेस्टिंग, और फेल होते हैं तो स्क्रैपेज में जाएगा. एंड मैंडेटरी टेस्टिंग ऑफ पर्सनल व्हीकल्स इन अ फेज्ड मैनर विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम June 2024. दोनों चीजें समझ में आई अच्छे से? ओके. तो एडवांटेजेस ऑफ स्क्रैप, तो यू हैव अंडरस्टूड द स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी पक्का अच्छे से. नाउ एडवांटेजेस ऑफ स्क्रैपिंग, तो फाइट एयर पोल्यूशन, बेटर इंजिन्स, न्यूअर कार्स विल हैव बेटर इंजिन्स, वो बूस्ट इन डिमांड इन ऑटो सेक्टर. कब तक 1990s की मारुति कार चलाओगे, अब टाटा हैरियर ले लो, फॉर्च्यूनर ले लो, है ना? शक्ल देखिए मेरी। Stimulated investment of more than 10,000 crore rupees in scrapping infrastructure and creation of jobs. Then government is also planning to encourage vehicle owners to scrap their vehicles. अब देखो बात ये समझो कि I have Maruti 800. Let's say I have Maruti 800. Now it failed automated fitness test. Will I go for scrapping? I would say नहीं यार, घर में खड़ी रहने दो ना. If I have land, if I have space, scrapping का फायदा क्या मुझे मिल रहा है? तो गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग कि उन्हें स्क्रैपिंग सर्टिफिकेट दिया जाएगा. बिकॉज ऑफ दैट सर्टिफिकेट दे विल बी एबल टू गेट टैक्स बेनिफिट्स ऑन देयर फ्यूचर कार्स. So in this way people would be encouraged to go for scrapping, and this certificate would also be tradable. I'll be able to sell it to you and you'll be able to buy कि भाई 30,000 रुपए में दे दे मुझे वो. I'll get some discount, I'll get some tax benefits. So these things have also been planned under the scrappage policy. Fine, समझ में आई ये बात? Okay, okay. So vehicle scrappage policy is done. Now go to a National Green Tribunal. National Green Tribunal basically in 2020 completed 10 years. तो कुछ prelims से related factual चीजें हैं about National Green Tribunal. You should understand that. So before National Green Tribunal was set up in 2010, there were some bodies. For example, there was National Environment Tribunal and National Environment Appellate Authority. Tribunal and authority बोलेंगे हमने. These were two bodies which were made by laws of the parliament, and they were the primarily forum for these kind of things. जैसे environmental clearance को challenge करना है. Some project has been given environmental clearance, you want to challenge that clearance, or some project environmental clearance have not been given, they want to go there. So it was these two bodies which played a role. Then compensation and all those things could also be done, but their role was very limited. And the worst part was, first thing was that their role was limited mostly to environment clearance related issues, but the worst part was that it was not an independent body. They came under Ministry of Environment and Forest, and because they came under Ministry of Environment and Forest, तो गवर्नमेंट के कंट्रोल, जैसे एनजीटी टुडे आस्क गवर्नमेंट बंद करो ये अत्याचार, राइट, stop this project, stop this, break this, ye NGT keeps giving this order. If NGT was under government's control, would it have been possible? No. So this body, one, its role was limited, and two, it was more or less under government control. Okay, अच्छा सिदान का था, अच्छा मारुति 800 गरीबों के लिए था, लोकेश के पास मारुति 1000 था, which was a sedan car. Okay, okay, Lokesh. So yeah, did you understand? Before NGT, so therefore there was a need of NGT-like body. Further, a lot of cases were going to High Court and Supreme Court. Supreme Court was not specialized enough for, our courts were not very specialized court for environmental purposes. तो वहाँ पे भी problems हो रही थी. And therefore, through National Green Tribunal Act, a NGT, National Green Tribunal, a quasi-judicial body. It's a judicial body, but it's not part of the formal judiciary. It has some limited function, some specialized function, was set up. This quasi-judicial body would be focused on expeditious, fast-track disposal of cases related to environment protection, conservation of forest and other natural resources, enforcement of any legal right relating to environment, and giving relief and compensation for damages. तो इसमें आप देखेंगे composition of NGT, it will consist of a full-time chairperson, it will consist of not less than 10 and not more than 20 judicial members, and it will consist of not more than 10 and not less than not less than 10 and not more than 20 full-time expert members. This is the composition of NGT. And then there are some qualifications also that you should know about the chairperson. Chairperson should either be a judge of Supreme Court or Chief Justice of High Court. Chairperson. तो ये होंगे judicial members. They can be judge of Supreme Court, Chief Justice of High Court, or a judge of High Court. तो यहाँ पे judicial member, Supreme Court judge, Chief Justice of High Court, or a judge in High Court. A simple judge in High Court cannot be chairperson. For being a chairperson, you should be judge in Supreme Court or Chief Justice of a High Court. But judicial member can be judge in Supreme Court, Chief Justice of High Court, and or a judge in High Court. Right? This chairperson is appointed by central government in consultation with Chief Justice of India. But for judicial member, the appointment takes place on the basis by central government on the recommendation of selection committee. And then there are expert members. Selection का तरीका वही है, appointment by central government on the recommendation of selection committee, but इनकी qualification, because these are expert members, not judicial members, so their qualification would be different. They are supposed to be masters in specified subject and 15 years of administrative experience. तो मास्टर्स करके रख लो, तभी यहाँ पे एक्सपर्ट मेंबर की तरह जा पाओगे. मेरी तरह खाली बीटेक रहोगे तो कहीं कुछ काम वाम नहीं मिलेगा एनजीटी में. फाइन. These are the qualifications. So composition, qualification. Now jurisdiction. These are the laws which the disputes under which goes to NGT. The Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Cess Act, Forest Conservation Act, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, Environment Protection Act, Public Liability Insurance Act, and Biological Diversity. Here you note a few things carefully. What are the important environmental acts which are not being covered here? Wildlife Protection Act. Wildlife Protection Act, जिसमें Schedule 1, Schedule 2 and all those things are there, is not listed here. Then Forest Rights Act. It's also not listed. It's also not listed here. Right. Now, this NGT has New Delhi as their principal place of sitting of the tribunal, but it also have benches in Bhopal, Pune, Kolkata and Chennai. When NGT was being planned, उस time suggestion was that its principal bench should sit in Bhopal, because Bhopal, center of the country, हर जगह से easily accessible, but for administrative reasons उसे दिल्ली में रखा गया. भोपाल में we have a bench. तो भोपाल, पुणे, कोलकाता, चेन्नई, we have benches. Now, this tribunal works on the principle of natural justice. यहाँ code of criminal procedure नहीं चलेगी. So even if you're not following norms of code of criminal procedure, that's okay. This tribunal is supposed to give expeditious judgment. So for that, within 6 months, it is mandated to make disposal of cases or appeals finally within 6 months of filing of the. Within 6 months, a case must be resolved. Appeal will go to Supreme Court within 90 days of the judgment, and Supreme Court. If you are not happy with NGT, you will not go to a High Court, you will go to a Supreme Court, and that too within 90 days of the NGT judgment. Not after that. After that, Supreme Court have to specially allow you, if it is satisfied that the appellant was prevented by sufficient cause from preferring the appeal or from being able to do appeal. Only then this would be okay. I think done. Environment खत्म हो गया. बहुत सारी क्लासेस कर ली. Even I didn't realize कि हमने 25-26 क्लासेस कर ली हैं टोटल एनवायरनमेंट के लिए. बट आई होप आप लोगों को कॉन्फिडेंस ज्यादा आ रहा होगा ऑन दी एनवायरनमेंट टॉपिक. अगेन आई एम रिक्वेस्टिंग कि पहले 3 या 4 चैप्टर्स हैं शंकर गणेश के, नॉट शंकर गणेश, शंकर आईएएस के, वो कर लो, या फिर पहले 2 चैप्टर्स राजगोपालन के, आर राजगोपालन एनवायरनमेंट बुक. तो आर राजगोपालन आई प्रेफर मोर, शंकर मुझे इतनी पसंद नहीं है, बट आप दोनों में से कोई भी बुक के पहले 2 चैप्टर आर राजगोपालन के और पहले 3-4 चैप्टर शंकर के. बाकी सब मैंने शंकर का कवर कर दिया. With more updates and all, we have done it. With this, your environment is done. कल मिलते हैं हम सोशल जस्टिस, गवर्नेंस सोशल जस्टिस शुरू करेंगे. ठीक है. ऑन मंडे यू विल हैव अ टेस्ट ऑन फुल टेस्ट ऑन एनवायरनमेंट. अच्छे से पढ़ लीजिए सारी. ओके, चलिए कल मिलें. ठीक है.